The man who labors day after day with no clear aim in sight is not unlike a ship set adrift without rudder or sail. It may float, it may survive the storms, but it will never reach a port of its own choosing. It is not work itself that makes men weary. It is the absence of direction that breaks their spirit. The moment a person defines with precision what they truly desire from life, something extraordinary begins to happen. Work is no longer a chore, but a chosen instrument. Purpose injects labor with energy, gives meaning to each task, and binds the scattered pieces of effort into a powerful, unified force. Many individuals feel lost, not because they lack talent, not because they are lazy or unfortunate, but because they have never taken the time to crystallize a definite purpose. They drift from job to job, idea to idea, believing that fulfillment is a matter of circumstance. But the truth is this: fulfillment is born of direction. One must take inventory of their desires and commit those desires to paper, refining them until they become as clear and sharp as a blueprint for a grand structure. Only then does the mind become magnetized to opportunities that align with that purpose. Only then does work begin to feel like a calling rather than a sentence. You may be digging ditches, stacking boxes, typing endless numbers into a screen, but if you understand where those actions are leading you, then even the humblest tasks take on majesty. It is not the nature of the work that defines your worth, it is the reason for doing it. A man sweeping floors with the knowledge that he is building discipline for future leadership is 1,000 times more empowered than the executive who earns millions yet moves with no aim beyond survival or vanity. Definiteness of purpose is the spark that turns a wish into a plan. It transforms scattered effort into focused momentum. Without it, you can work for decades and still remain stagnant, confused, or bitter. With it, even failure becomes feedback, and every challenge a signpost on the road to your vision. Purpose turns obstacles into instruction and routine into ritual. It sharpens the mind, strengthens the will, and makes sacrifice easier to endure. The tragedy is that most people never stop long enough to decide what they truly want. They have desires, yes, but desires are not purpose. Desires are fleeting. They shift with mood and season. Purpose is anchored. It comes from deep introspection, from asking the hard questions. What do I truly want? What legacy do I wish to leave? What is the one thing I would pursue if I could not fail? When these questions are answered with honesty, a fire is lit within that no setback can extinguish. Work without purpose is slavery, even if you are well paid. But when you work towards something definite, every task becomes part of a larger mission. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstance. You become the master of your fate, the captain of your soul, not by chance, but by the power of deliberate thought, backed by a will to act. There exists a fatal misunderstanding among the masses, a belief that work is a punishment, a burden imposed by necessity. This idea has crippled more dreams than failure ever could. It leads men to resent the very process designed to free them. But the wise understand a deeper truth. Work is not the enemy. It is the bridge between where you are and where you desire to be. It is the tool by which invisible dreams are hammered into visible form. It is the divine mechanism through which thought takes shape in the world of matter. When a person labors under the weight of complaint, believing work to be a curse, they repel the very opportunities they long for. No great achievement has ever come from idle hands or bitter hearts. Greatness reveals itself only to those who embrace labor as a sacred contract between their vision and its fulfillment. The universe does not reward the man who seeks only ease. It favors the one who engages in purposeful, persistent effort. Work is not simply the exchange of time for money. It is the arena in which the mind is forged, where character is tested, and where faith is transformed into action. Those who dread their labor have yet to see its value. They mistake the temporary discomfort of effort for the permanent pain of stagnation. But there is far greater suffering in a purposeless life than there is in honest toil. The man who works with vision, even if his body is weary, carries within him a wellspring of energy the idler will never know. There is something miraculous in the act of work aligned with purpose. When your vision is clear and your goals are firm, every task becomes meaningful, every obstacle becomes a lesson. A simple act, repeated with intention, begins to carve a path through even the most impenetrable terrain. This is how mountains are moved, one shovelful at a time, by hands that believe in the summit long before it is in sight. The man who sees work as a bridge walks with dignity, regardless of the task. Whether he is cleaning floors, delivering packages, or writing plans for an empire, he knows each action is a step forward. He does not waste time comparing his bridge to another's. He does not curse the weight of his burden. He accepts it gladly, knowing that each moment spent in faithful labor brings him closer to the life he envisions. Work is not merely effort, it is transformation in motion. Just as a sculptor chips away at stone to reveal the figure hidden within, so too does consistent, focused labor strip away weakness and reveal the hidden potential of the soul. What once felt heavy becomes a rhythm. What once caused strain begins to build strength. The bridge is not only external, it forms within, as confidence replaces doubt and action replaces hesitation. Many complain that their work is unfulfilling, but few have stopped to ask themselves whether they have given it meaning. Meaning is not found, it is created. And it is created through the lens of purpose. When you see your work as preparation for greater things, when you approach it with gratitude and intensity, you begin to elevate it. You breathe into it something divine. You rise, not because your circumstances change, but because your perception does. The richest men in the world began with sweat on their brows and dirt under their nails. They were not given power, they built it. 1 hour, one hardship, one decision at a time. They did not wait for someone to lift them, they lifted themselves through the only means available to any man with a dream. Consistent, passionate, relentless work. They did not fear labor. They used it like a ladder, climbing every rung with purpose in their hearts and a vision in their mind. The world you see around you in all its grandeur and complexity is the harvest of seeds sown by laborers. Some long forgotten, others remembered for their vision. Every towering structure, every thriving business, every fortune accumulated, every invention that reshaped history began as nothing more than a single act of labor. What separates the man who reaps a great harvest from the man who remains empty-handed is not merely skill, nor luck, nor opportunity. It is the understanding that every hour of labor is a seed sown, whether seen or unseen, acknowledged or ignored. When you rise and give your time to a task, you are not merely passing the day. You are planting something into the soil of tomorrow. The man who labors with this awareness works with care, with intention, with faith. He does not look for instant results, nor is he discouraged by the absence of applause. He understands that the soil does not respond to demands, it responds to devotion. And just as a farmer must water, tend, and protect his crop before it ever bears fruit, so too must a man persist in his efforts, trusting that the results will appear in due time. The greatest mistake of those who feel lost or defeated is to believe their labor is in vain. They assume that because progress is invisible, progress is absent. But all growth begins in silence. The roots of success grow deep beneath the surface, far from recognition, before they break through into the light. The man who abandons his work because no one sees it forgets that the seed must endure darkness before it reaches the sun. Each hour you commit to a task with discipline, each moment you resist distraction, each time you choose excellence over ease. You are sowing seeds that will one day reward you. You may not see their growth immediately, but trust that the law of cause and effect governs all outcomes. Effort, when sustained and focused, compounds over time. This compounding is quiet, invisible, and often misunderstood, but it is relentless. It rewards the one who continues to plant, even when he sees no sign of the harvest. Think of the man who studies his craft each evening while others rest. Think of the woman who builds her business in the early hours, unknown and unsupported. They are not wasting time. They are investing it. They are depositing effort into the bank of destiny, where interest is paid in opportunities that the passive will never see. The seeds they sow today will bloom when the season is right and not a moment sooner. But bloom they will, for nature does not cheat the diligent. It is easy to work when results are immediate. It is harder and far more powerful to work when rewards are unseen. This is where faith comes in. Not blind faith, but the faith that understands the law of sowing and reaping. No effort truly given is ever lost. Even failed attempts, even mistakes, even trials that end in apparent defeat are seeds that prepare the soil for future triumphs. They teach, refine, and reshape the soul to be worthy of success. To treat your labor as meaningless is to insult your own potential. To view your effort as futile is to misunderstand the nature of growth. Everything you do with intention moves you forward, whether the world notices or not. The true rewards of work are not always immediate outcomes, but inner transformations. Strength, clarity, resilience, and mastery. These are seeds too, and they must be cultivated through consistent, purposeful labor. A man does not become great by accident. He becomes great through 1,000 small acts done in silence, with no audience but his own conscience. The world eventually notices the fruit, but only he knows the price of the seed. When you come to understand that every hour of honest work plants something valuable, you no longer resent the process. You begin to see the field of your life not as barren, but as fertile soil waiting for the one who dares to plant with vision, patience, and unwavering belief in the harvest to come. The mind is the master weaver, shaping the outer world according to the patterns held within. What a man thinks of his work is more important than the work itself, for it is thought that breathes life into action. You may toil with your hands, you may sweat from dawn until dusk, but if your thoughts are poisoned with resentment, boredom, or complaint, then the very power of your labor is diluted. No man can rise above the quality of his thoughts, for those thoughts cast the mold into which his reality is poured. If you approach your work with contempt, it will return to you with equal disdain. It will feel heavy, meaningless, and unrewarding. But when you see your work as a sacred duty, a means of growth, a step toward your greater vision, then it begins to rise with you. The task itself does not change, but your mind does, and that change transforms the entire experience. A man with an inspired mind can make even the smallest task shine with purpose, while a man with a dull, bitter mind will find misery in even the highest position. Every great advancement begins in thought. Before the bridge is built, the skyscraper raised, the business launched, the book written, there was a man or woman who first imagined its possibility. And then, with that vision burning in the mind, they began the work not with reluctance, but with resolve. Their thinking infused the labor with energy, and that energy attracted ideas, people, and circumstances to support their mission. The invisible force behind all great work is the quality of thought with which it is done. You cannot hate your work and expect it to lift you. You cannot curse the very thing designed to carry you toward your dreams. The way you think about your labor sets the tone for how it responds to you. Think of it as drudgery and it will drain you. Think of it as your vehicle to freedom and it will empower you. The job may be the same, but the mind that approaches it changes everything. It is not the outer condition that makes the man, it is the inner condition with which he meets the outer world. This is not a matter of fantasy or empty optimism. It is a law of nature. Thought, when fused with emotion and belief, becomes a magnet. It draws unto itself its material equivalent. When you think of your work with pride, with purpose, with a sense of honor, your subconscious begins to align every part of your being with growth. You begin to spot opportunities others miss. You bring excellence to tasks others overlook. You show up with energy others envy. That energy is not the result of the work, it is the cause of its transformation. A positive mind does not merely make work more pleasant, it makes work more powerful. The tasks you perform with love, with attention, with belief, carry a different vibration. They are done with care, they are noticed, they attract people and open doors. In contrast, tasks performed with resentment often lead to errors, delays, and missed chances, not because the work was beyond you, but because your mind was against you. The successful man conditions his mind before he begins his work. He sees the value in his contribution, no matter how small it may seem. He imagines where it will lead, what it will build, how it will shape him. He knows that even the most ordinary moment can be infused with greatness when touched by inspired thought. He treats his labor not as punishment, but as privilege, a chance to grow, to serve, to prepare for the next level of his journey. There are those who look for better work and those who make their work better by looking at it through the lens of purpose. The mind is the lens. Train it to see meaning and meaning will appear. Train it to see growth and growth will come. Train it to see drudgery and that too will arrive. You are not simply doing work. You are doing work through thought. And that thought, whether empowering or destructive, is the silent partner in every hour you labor. The man who utters the words, "It's just a job," declares his resignation from the power within him. He lowers the value of his own labor, and in doing so he blinds himself to the hidden riches that lie within even the smallest of duties. There is no such thing as just a job. Every task, no matter how mundane or modest, is a test, a training ground, and a stepping stone. It is either leading you forward or revealing the need for change. But it is never meaningless. The moment you treat your work as insignificant, you begin to diminish your own significance. Every position, every role, every responsibility is infused with the potential to elevate a person to greatness, not through the job title, not through the salary, but through the way that person chooses to show up and perform. You may be standing behind a counter folding clothes, delivering food, typing words, or answering phones, but if you do it with excellence, if you do it with pride, if you do it with the intention of becoming more than you were yesterday, then that job becomes a ladder, and every rung you climb is built from your attitude, your effort, and your belief. It is not the size of the role that defines the person, it is the size of the spirit with which the role is fulfilled. A man who handles a small task with mastery will soon be trusted with larger responsibilities. That is the law. The invisible forces of life always conspire to promote the person who treats their current station with respect and vision, and life also withholds greater opportunities from those who treat their present role with apathy or contempt. If you do not honor where you are, you disqualify yourself from where you want to be. There are no wasted moments for the person who understands that work is never separate from destiny. What you do today, no matter how humble, is preparing you for what you will do tomorrow. Every skill you build, every relationship you nurture, every ounce of discipline you develop becomes a tool you carry into the next season of life. You are not waiting for life to begin, you are building it with every moment you invest in the now. The difference between a worker and a leader, between an employee and an entrepreneur, between the forgotten and the remembered, is not found in job descriptions, it is found in how they think about what they do. Some walk into their work thinking only of survival, others walk in thinking of legacy. The work may appear the same on the surface, but the energy behind it could not be more different. One leaves empty, the other leaves empowered. One is passing time, the other is mastering it. When you change the way you view your job, the job itself begins to change. Doors open, new tasks are assigned, people take notice, your posture shifts, your standards rise. What was once a job becomes a platform, and what was once a paycheck becomes a proving ground. It is not the employer who determines your future. It is your relationship with your current work that sets the terms of your advancement. You must become the kind of person who outgrows your job by how you grow within it. No act of true excellence goes unseen forever. Even if no one applauds today, the universe takes note. The seeds of greatness are not planted only in grand moments. They are often planted in silence, in service, in consistency, and in the decision to do your best when no one is watching. The person who decides to treat their current job as if it were the most important task on earth will soon find themselves entrusted with even more important tasks. But that journey begins in thought, in belief, and in the silent declaration that no work is beneath you when it is part of building the person you are becoming. You were not born to drift aimlessly through life, working simply to survive and waiting for meaning to arrive by chance. You were born with the power to direct your mind, command your effort, and shape your destiny through the daily labor you perform. Work in its purest form is not a sentence. It is a statement. It declares to the world what you believe about yourself, your vision, and the future you are willing to build. Whether you sweep the floor or sign executive orders, your work matters. It molds your habits, it reveals your character, and it prepares you for the heights you dream of reaching. When you choose to work with purpose, when you stop seeing effort as a burden and begin to see it as your bridge to greatness, everything changes. The smallest task becomes sacred. The routine becomes the ritual. You become the kind of person success is drawn to, not by accident, but by design. Let others wait for permission, wait for the right job, wait for inspiration, but not you. You now understand that the power lies not in the job, but in the mind that approaches it. You now know that every hour of focused labor is a seed, and you sow it not with doubt, but with faith. And in due time your harvest will come. The world does not reward mere motion, it rewards motion with meaning, effort with vision, labor with love. Work is not your enemy, it is your ally. It is the fire that refines you, the weight that strengthens you, and the pathway through which your purpose is made real. When you embrace it, when you elevate it, when you use it to serve a definite aim, you will not only change your results, you will change your life forever. Let me know if you'd like this formatted for a video, voiceover, social media, or spoken word delivery. Happy to help you tailor it.